All right, we are back for our second segment of the night, where we will be talking about the playoffs as a whole, what we've all seen from it, and I'm gonna just start right with you, Jeremy. Any key takeaways? Any teams that are kind of separating themselves from the pack for you here?
Well, yeah, like I was talking about in that first segment, I think if the Oilers can continue to play defense like they are right now, they should be considered cup favorites. They kind of build their team a way that the other three teams don't. Generally, when you're looking at cup teams, it's built from, at least in the past, it's built from the goaltender out. You generally need a hot goalie to win the cup, but the way that the Oilers do it, they kind of do the opposite. They have that offensive engine, and then they kind of deal with the rest of it. It's kind of the opposite of two philosophies, and when they can get even average defense, that offense really shines through. So they're the team that, looking at it right now, I think has is my cup favorite.
Yep. And for you, TJ, is there anybody that stands out for you?
I mean, I think that the Panthers really are just such a tough out, night in, night out. Speaking from experience a little bit as a Bruins fan here, and having to watch that forecheck game in, game out.
Yeah.
And that was something that the Rangers definitely became aware of in their game one matchup, where we saw a streak of, I believe it was 14 minutes where the Rangers were unable to get a shot on goal. There was another streak already tonight where they had gone 10 minutes without a shot on goal. The Panthers they get their bodies, they get their sticks on any type of loose puck, and they bring that extra level of physicality as well. And they are sort of built around the goaltending as well, with Bobrovsky, the monster that he is in net. The Panthers, I think, are, again, it's a little bit hard for me as a Bruins fan after, how physical and sort of murky that series got at times, but you have to pay your respects to them because they are a deep team, they're a physical team, and they have just about every single tool you would need from them in order to put together a cup contender.
Yeah. TJ, how many times in your lifetime have you been able to say that the Bruins got outmuscled in a game, in a series? It's not many, is it?
It's not many. I will say in recent years,
Yeah.
they haven't necessarily, since really, the loss of Chara and those like super physical Bruins teams, when you have Chara and Bergeron sort of holding it down. But no, I mean, absolutely credit to the Panthers for the style of play that they have. Again, when you're on the losing side of it, it feels a little bit dirty, but at the same time, that's hockey, and you do have to give them credit.
Yeah, trust me, a lot of these Rangers fans are going to say that this is definitely a dirty team, especially from that call in the first period of tonight's game on Alexander Wennberg not going the Rangers' way, which is a little bit funny that you said the Oilers, Jeremy, and you said the Panthers, TJ, because I have the Rangers winning the Stanley Cup, and I've had the Rangers winning the Stanley Cup since the start of these playoffs. I think that team is by far the most complete. It starts with how Jeremy described how people make a cup contender is the goaltender out. Igor Shesterkin is by far and away, in my opinion, the best goaltender in the National Hockey League. That guy makes insane saves after insane save after insane save, night in and night out. What he does is just spectacular. It reminds me of a former New York goalie that I watched a lot growing up, in Henrik Lundqvist, of course. That might just be helmet scouting, but I still think it's very similar. But for the Rangers, their top six is insane, which impresses me how the Panthers are able to compete with that top six. When I did the breakdown of this series, I said that that's where the Rangers needed to separate themselves, is through their scoring and superstars. How Mika Zibanejad has been amazing. How Artemi Panarin, Vincent Trocheck have been able to be amazing throughout the playoffs. I thought that they've needed to continue that. In game one, they sort of did, sort of didn't, and in game two, right now, we have a goal from Vincent Trocheck. So it's going to be interesting to see how this series does play out, and how, it's Igor Shesterkin versus Sergei Bobrovsky is the story of this series right now. 2-0 the first game. How big was that for Sergei Bobrovsky to get a shutout in that game one?
Yeah, I mean,
go for it.
The first two periods, he wasn't necessarily tested all too much. I thought that the Panthers, again, that forecheck just sort of limiting opportunities for the Rangers. But when the Rangers had their opportunities, they were definitely real chances there where they got a couple breakaways. There was that span where they were just firing shots on Bobrovsky, and I think that he absolutely, Shesterkin is one of, if not the best goalie in the NHL, but Bobrovsky won that duel in game one. And to be fair, the second goal, I mean, I'm not sure where you want to go. If you want to go a blame pie here in terms of how much you want to get on Shesterkin's case for that, basically an own goal for the Rangers there. Thought he was good, but round one went to Bobrovsky, and to your point, or to your question, that was absolutely massive for the Panthers in game one.
The one thing with the Rangers that I've seen really in these playoffs, aside from the first series with the Capitals where they dominated, is even though they won and kind of felt like the better team against the Carolina Hurricanes, when I was watching those games, aside from when they were on the power play, they felt like they were getting outplayed in for large segments of it. Like, they would win a period here or there, like they won the first period of the first game and they won the last period of the series pretty convincingly. But in the middle between that, it felt like they were just kind of scraping by, and I'm getting the same kind of feeling from this series as well. I mean, we've talked about how they've gone a long time without a shot already in this game, and in game one as well. They just don't feel like they have, and Shesterkin has carried them on his back. Shesterkin has been incredible, and when you have a goalie as hot as Shesterkin, it's hard to bet against them. The issue is you're going against Bobrovsky, who can also do the same thing, and maybe when you get to the Stanley Cup final, you might be going up against Ottinger, who also did the same thing. I mean, he made like 30 straight saves last night. But like, I don't know, this Rangers team, to me, it doesn't feel like they dominate any of these series that have been against contenders so far. They haven't really dominated it to me. It's a little concerning.
Yeah, I might have been fooled from that Carolina Hurricanes series because I believe the Carolina Hurricanes were maybe the third best team in the Eastern Conference this year. I thought that they were amazing. From top to bottom, that team was so good. I love Sebastian Aho. I think he's an amazing player in hockey. So I believed in the Rangers when they went up 3-0 a lot. So that might have been my mistake. But 1-1 right now through this game. It's starting to go into the second intermission, still 1-1. So we'll see how that one plays out. This is a huge game, of course, for this series. If the Panthers take both games on the road, that may spell death, although it didn't for the Dallas Stars, as you mentioned, against the Vegas Golden Knights. Is there any teams in these playoffs that kind of were very underwhelming to you guys, that maybe burnt out, that you thought were going to go far?
I mean, I don't know how far I necessarily saw them going, but definitely has to feel like another disappointing ending for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and obviously as a result they end up firing their head coach. But it does just feel like, especially the way I thought they outplayed the Bruins, and they almost pulled off the 3-1 comeback, but just another sort of opportunity there that just slipped through their hands. And this is a Bruins team, as much as they did overachieve for a lot of people's expectations headed into the season, by the end of the year they were not playing their best hockey, and they still, in the points department, were able to take advantage by the fact that just about every game went to overtime for them, and they were losing in OT but still getting a point out of it. But I think that it was due change for the Maple Leafs to go ahead and fire their coach, but got to feel like, again, another opportunity that slipped away for them.
Right. I mean, the Maple Leafs just are never going to beat the Bruins, are they? They just aren't. It's always gonna go to 7, and it's always going to be one of those heartbreaking losses for a Maple Leafs fan. I thought the Vegas Golden Knights got a tough draw, though. They're going up against one of the deepest teams that I've seen in a really long time in the Stars. And you could make the argument that Vegas was the second best team in the West. I mean, they were the wild card team, but it's because they did the cap manipulation with the LTIR for the second year in a row. And you can debate that whole,
and that's
whether
what I was
or not
going to say thing. Is that the reason they got this draw, in my opinion, is 100% because of themselves. You're keeping Mark Stone's probably their best player offensively. You're keeping him on the shelf. And it's very much on purpose. They don't even hide it anymore. So,
right. And it's kind of unfortunate because I would have liked to see how far they go. I think they beat any other team. I mean, they took the Stars to 7, and I mean it was a great series, that one. I really do think that those two teams match up. I mean, that was the Western Conference Finals matchup last season for a reason. You know, it's not like those two teams changed all that much. And that's a team I'm a little disappointed by, but it's death by your own poison kind of situation.
Yeah. Well, quickly on that note, we are obviously in this era of sports fandom where it's very much, championship or bust, ring culture, and the sort of diminishing importance of the regular season. Mm-hmm. But these are instances where, you have tougher draws when you don't necessarily play your best ball during the regular season, and ultimately they were one of the teams this sort of postseason run that suffered from it.
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, the most underwhelming team was the Winnipeg Jets. How many playoffs in a row can Connor Hellebuyck completely ghost and they keep him as their number one goaltender?
He's so good, though.
He always seems like a Vezina Trophy candidate, and then he has a 5.4 goals against average in the playoffs. And what happened here? It's so disappointing seeing that Winnipeg Jets team go out, because they were contending for a President's Trophy halfway through this year. That was a good team for most of this year, so I was shocked. We'll wrap this second segment and your guys' night up with any predictions here going the rest of the way: Eastern Conference Final, Western Conference Final, or Stanley Cup.
I mean, I know that you said you are on the Rangers to win it all this year. I think I'm leaning Panthers right now. I was surprised to see that they were actually the favorites headed into this series, betting wise. But, I think that I'm very high on the Panthers right now. I see a matchup between them and the Oilers in the Stanley Cup Finals. And from there, I think it's a super tough call. I guess if I were to plant my flag in either one right now, I think I'd probably lean with the Panthers. But again, it's going to be, I think that all four teams that remain are extremely worthy of being here. So we should have some good series on our hands.
For sure. And then for you,
and I mean, the good news is it's going to be a new cup winner this year. It's going to be a new team that wins it. I kind of have my bias. Like I said, I love watching Jake Ottinger play. The Stars are kind of my second team because he's there, and I kind of want them to win it. But I think the Panthers are gonna do it. The way they play physically against every team, just dominating them. It's hard to do that matchup for 5, 6, 7 games.
Yeah, for sure. I completely understand why you guys are leaning that way. It definitely looks like they are the favorites in this series, especially if they can take this second game. But that'll wrap it up for our second segment, and that'll wrap it up for Jeremy and TJ. Thank you guys for coming on. Really had a blast with you guys talking about hockey. So thank you guys. You guys can check them out at the GSMC Sports Network. I'll definitely link their podcasts and their show playlists in the description. But with that being said, we'll take our second break of the night, and then when I come back, I'll be talking about the New Jersey Devils and their hiring of Sheldon Keefe.